Hello, beautiful soul family. Thank you so much for joining me today for your inspiration and affirmations on Unmasked Universe, where we unmask the universe that lives inside of you. So glad you can join me today. It is a beautiful day, although I'm feeling some energies coming through of, let's just say, self-sabotaging thoughts and energy that may be coming through and affecting the collective right now. So we'll see if anything in our reading ties into that. But I have noticed that at least for today, it may be connected to tomorrow's energy. I'm not too sure. Sometimes I get things happening within myself a day ahead of the collective so that I can report on it easier. And so that I can still continue to show up in the way that I need to for the collective. So we'll see what today has in store for us. We're going to start with our energy cards. I hope you're all having a beautiful day, at least. Um, I know where I'm living, it's sunny right now, and I like that very much. We are about to warm up and get into some warmer weather, so I'm going to take a trip and go on a little adventure and treat myself to some, different activities that I don't normally get to do in the city that I live in because it's smaller. I'm going to go visit a larger city, so more options available. All right, thank you, Spirit. Okay. And what other energy is the collective experiencing right now? What is the energy in the collective right now, Spirit? Victory. Ooh. Okay, so we have adjacent possibilities, and then we have victory. Ooh. This is some good energy. So I am curious what this other energy I'm feeling is and if it ties in at all. Okay, so that's a good start. Yay. Collective needs some goodness in their life, right? Some good energy. All right, spirit guides and ancestors, what affirmations are going to be the most beneficial tying into today's energy for the collective? Please and thank you. Ooh, two came out pretty quickly. Thank you. And one more, please, Spirit. One to two more. Thank you. All right. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, this makes sense now. Why I'm feeling that energy. Okay. So the affirmation is I am always succeeding, even if it is just by taking tiny steps forward. I am taking action on my life. So I'll slow that down. If you're new here, I slow it down a second time so that you can say it out loud yourself. I am always succeeding, even if it is just by taking tiny steps forward. I am taking action on my life. Okay, the next affirmation is I'm going to make supportive decisions that benefit my life and my well being. So I'll slow it down. I am going to make supportive decisions that benefit my life and my well being. And the last one is, it is safe to know myself. So again, it is safe to know myself. Mm, I got some goosebumps there with a bit of a channel message. So, um, it does make sense to me now why it is that this energy is coming through, and there's some self-sabotaging behaviors, and you have a portal open available right now for you to let go of what isn't serving you. So there are, and this is what I was experiencing just before I stepped into this reading, which I thought, I even said, like, that's weird. There is negative energy being projected at me somehow right now. Like it was just so out of the blue. Just as I sat down and I was shuffling the cards, preparing, all of a sudden these negative thoughts of um, not believing in myself or self-worth, things like this were coming up. And I was like, well, that's really odd because I haven't felt like that all day long. And just as soon as I sat down to do this reading, that was coming through. And so I think, given these affirmations that are coming out, always recognizing that you're always succeeding, and success isn't measured by the big steps. It's not measured by how big of a step you can take all at one time because it's not a race, right? It's measured by the big picture. And what creates the big picture? It's all the tiny steps, all the little movements forward that you've made, surpassing your own expectations, surpassing your own goals, surpassing everything that you imagined you would, even through strife and difficulty, right? And so the energy that's coming through is possibly that for some of you, you're feeling as if you're not making enough progress fast enough. And so the reminder here is that, you have this possibility right now to let that part of yourself go that is doubting you and that is creating a lowered self-esteem. And you have to reinforce these things by saying things like affirmations, right? Recognizing that whatever belief is limiting you right now can be countered and healed. You just need to look at it honestly, accept it as part of you, as part of your wounded self, and then start doing things like, your affirmations in order to counteract that thought. But you have to be consistent. So that's why I say on this channel, if there are any of my affirmations that I've channeled that are very beneficial for you, that you really deeply resonate with, pause the video, write it down, and use it. Use it to heal those wounds within you, right? And consistency is key. So, um, you know, this also ties along with these adjacent possibilities and having victory over your mindset, right? Because the mind is the first thing that triggers responses all the way into your action. So if you allow your mind to be integrated into who your identity is without separation between your mind and who your actual identity is, then you begin to allow your mind to then control and instigate emotions within you, which can then grow into physical actions in your environment. So, um, I think that what's coming through is that, we need to remember that just because we're taking small steps forward does not mean that we have not been making progress. And the universe does not expect us to be able to build Rome in one day. That's not at all the thought here. Um, it's to remember that with every action that you take in getting to know yourself, because you see it's safe for you to know yourself, in every action that you take and every decision that supports this this way of being and the action forward, then you are actually creating victory for yourself. But you also need to see that. And sometimes it's just a matter of changing our mindset, changing how we view things. And if we're not viewing it from the correct perspective because we're allowing our inner critic or our wounded self to take us down, our ego in essence, to take us down a notch or two, then we're actually lowering our frequency and allowing more of that to come in because we get into the emotional body then, right? And then the emotions start to overwhelm us, and then we can become quite negative or sad or many different things, right? So it's important to remember that just because you have these thoughts, it doesn't mean that you are your thoughts. You have the ability to change at any point in time. And it takes countering these thoughts and changing your neurolinguistic programming that is in your mind, right? That's where it starts. That's the epicenter into the rest. And so when you change that and you rewire your own programming, then the rest will follow suit. But it does take time, and it does take appreciating your path, appreciating how far you have come. If you were to look back a week, if you were to look back further, a year, it depends on how long you've been on this path, but even just a month or 6 months, you can see visible changes. But often we're so busy and wrapped up in what's going on that we're not looking back and we're not acknowledging how far we've come and we're not giving ourselves those pats on the back. So you can have victory over your mindset. And by doing so, you're placing yourself already in a higher timeline, right? So thank you, Spirit, for that message. We're going to get into, sorry about the camera. There. Okay. Okay, so let's get a cosmic oracle card. What does the collective need to hear most today, Spirit? What message does the collective need to hear most? Thank you. Okay. All right. And I'll get one more. Thank you. All right. So, for those of you who resonate with making supportive decisions that benefit your life and well-being, I'm getting that some of you are actually looking at the physical vessel itself. So what support does your physical vessel need at this time? Does it need more sleep? Does it need exercise? Does it need more stimulation? Does it need, you know? And the physical vessel is everything from the mind all the way down. But I see that some of you are looking at what decisions actually support the physical vessel from a nutritional stance, from a physical stance, from a mental stance, from a balanced stance, whether you're balanced or not, if you're getting enough water, if you're getting enough sleep, all of those things. And so um, some of you have been looking at these things, but maybe aren't tuning into the body as it's telling you what it needs. Okay, so this is part of the process of this whole alignment is that we tap in and tune into the body's requests as it demonstrates them. So I'm going to mention something about water because this is just um, a good instance to explain what I'm about to unravel here for you. So by the time that you actually feel thirsty, you're already in a state of dehydration. So if you notice that you don't drink a lot of water, and then all of a sudden you have that really strong urge, that tightness in your throat, and you're feeling so thirsty, and then your mind gets really obsessed with drinking water, and you just start to feel parched. Okay, so that When you already reach that state of being thirsty, you're already dehydrated. And so the body will ask you in other ways, in subtle ways, to tune in to it and its needs along the way as to what it requires. And it gives you subtle signs before the extreme signs. You know, we all feel these extreme signs. We all have not listened to our bodies. We have all ignored the previous signs because throughout our lives, the busyness and the busyness and the busyness takes us away from actually paying attention and loving our own bodies. And so after some time, you can forget about what those natural, smaller cues even look like or feel like in the body. And then the only time you recognize it is when they're extreme, when you're already dehydrated, or you're already deprived of energy, or you're already starving. And these are not the states in which we're being guided to get to. In fact, we want to avoid getting into these states. And we want to listen to the finer tuning of our own bodies, right? And so we're being asked to listen to the body and do what it is asking of you, right? And by doing so, you bring yourself into alignment and avoid, I don't like to use the word crisis, but it's almost like your body is going into a crisis every time you take it to that state where it's already in the extreme. And the whole point is to keep it centered so that the rest of you can actually function in that centered capacity. And so that's why it's important to listen to the really subtle cues. And that's going to take time to readjust to when you're used to ignoring all of the subtle cues and what the body's trying to tell you, and you're only used to being tuned into those extreme circumstances where it's screaming at you and you have no other choice but to listen. Um, it's time to now start making more supportive decisions by tuning into what your subtle cues are. And that's going to be different for each of you, right? Sometimes it's best, if you can, just to maintain all of these levels as you go rather than to allow it to get into an extreme. But once you are maintaining all of these basic requirements that your physical body needs, you'll see when you just start to get a little bit out of alignment. And these are the natural, more subtle cues that you want to pay attention to. Okay. Maybe you start to get a little bit frustrated because you haven't had enough sleep or you're hungry. Maybe you start to, pardon me, maybe you start to just feel anxiety, you know, any number of things that are out of balance that the body requires, if it's not getting, can create emotional disruptions. And so pay attention closely to your emotions. Um, and for others of you, so this card says, what has your inner voice been asking of you? Listen and act. Okay, so this can tie into this whole body thing as well and making supportive decisions that are beneficial for your well-being. Because it's not just about the body, right? We're making decisions all around for our overall well-being and peace. And so, um, what I'm getting here is that in order to achieve victory in what it is that we want, we also have to listen to the quieter parts of ourselves. And sometimes those quieter parts of ourselves are a little harder to tune into, but a good way to tune in or hone into that skill of hearing your inner voice is to sit quietly with yourself. If meditation isn't your thing, then just sit quietly in just with your own energy and hear what is coming through. And now, if there is an inner critic coming through, then you know that you need to work on that aspect of self, that inner voice that is trying to tell you that you're not worthy of this, or you're not making any progress, so you might as well give up. Apathy. There was quite a lot of energy coming through when I was sitting down there to channel. And so ask yourself what part of you is that inner critic, and what part of you is actually the inner voice. The inner voice can come through in a very soft way. It can come through in a loving way. It always comes through in a loving way. It will never be judgmental. It'll never discredit you. It'll never diminish you in any capacity. It'll never treat you with guilt and shame or rejection. Your inner voice is fully loving and encompassing of all of who you are. And so you need to be able to discern between the inner critic and that inner voice. And when you tune into that inner voice and you shush that inner critic, right? Then you can begin to hear what it is that they're telling you, what they're asking of you. And you're being asked to start learning to tune into that now that you're at this point where you can actually learn to discern. You have time to sit with yourself, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes a day, and discern between your highest self and that inner critic. And then start taking action on what they're asking you to do, because this is your highest self, your guides, your spirit team, all those who love you. They're asking you to take action on the guidance they're giving you. Don't be paralyzed by or even believe for a moment that the energy that's coming in is your energy, because it's not. It's an energy of the collective world at this point that is putting pressure on you so you can evolve and grow beyond that, right? So it only becomes yours if you take it on. And so it's kind of like I hate I always hate using the word test, but that is the best human way to describe it so that people understand what it is that's happening. Collectively, this energy is upon us that is trying to test our our faith in ourselves, but at the same time, by revealing what's still left in our shadow, in our ego, that needs to be looked at, healed, and released. And so, how strong are you going to be in acknowledging that that's not your energy, right? You may have to battle your ego a bit with these affirmations and counteracting or reprogramming your mind so that you can have this victory. But this is the energy right now. And not only that, by taking action on what it is that you're being asked to do. It's really important. Your guides right now are asking you to tune in and listen to what it is they're asking you to do, even if it is just one little actionable step every day. Even if it seems really insignificant, it adds up to create the big picture. So I'm going to move into our money magic manifestation cards. All right, Spirit, which money manifestation cards are going to be the most beneficial for the collective today, please and thank you? Which manifestations does the collective need most, Spirit? There is one just slipped in my hand. There we go. Two more. All right. Okay, so the first one is I have permission to say no when it doesn't align with my truth. The second one is it is safe for me to succeed in my goals. And the third one is I have permission to do what I love and be a huge success. So again, that's following your bliss, following your joy, and you don't need anybody else's permission to live the life that you want to live. You don't need anybody's permission to believe what you believe, to feel what you feel, to say no to anybody or anything or their beliefs or their conditioning or their wounds and wounded states. You don't need permission to live the way that you want. You don't need permission to actually be successful by following what it is that you're really passionate about, that really lights you up, that you love doing. You know, it is safe for you to succeed. So, number one. Number two. And then number three. Okay. Yeah. So I'm also getting this thing of like, okay, you've got a goal. It's time to go for it. Like, it's time to take action, right? That's why we got this card about listening and taking action. It's now time to take action. You've got a goal in mind. Take steps in that direction. Doesn't matter how small they seem. Every step that you take is going to get you to where you need to be. And the universe, as soon as the universe sees that you're doing all of this work, they're on board. But you've got to reprogram your mind with that doubt, with the worthiness. You have to reprogram it in order to get this victory. Because if your heart and your desires and your passion aren't in alignment with what you're telling yourself and what your beliefs are, then you only attract what your beliefs and your minds are telling you because, again, they're all intricately linked. And your body will follow suit based on what the mind is telling it to do. So, you need to actually focus on the reprogramming of that as well. All right. Now, I do want to end the session off with some new affirmation cards that I got. And this one is just going to be some positivity to end our day. Oh, thank you, Spirit. We got two. All right, coming back to our authenticity. Good. Okay, I'll say this one first. Okay. I surrender to a power greater than me. Give it over to source. Give it over to your subconscious mind. If there's something you're having difficulties letting go of, that you're struggling with, hand it over to your subconscious, to your higher self, to your spirit team, to source, to help you in order to surrender that. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the clock. Perfectly aligned. That's what that means. In alignment. Love it. All right. So, and thank you for that message, Spirit. If you want a more detailed understanding of that message, then check it out on Google. Give it a read. There is nothing schmexier than my authentic truth. You can't really say that word on YouTube, so, but you can say it out loud. And it's about empowering yourself, right? Surrender what you cannot control. If it's out of your control and you cannot figure it out, or you're stuck, or you need help, surrender that to Source. Surrender it to your team. Know that it's safe to know yourself now, to get to know yourself, right? And your authentic, and your authentic truth. your authenticity. Allow it to shine through by getting to know who you truly are, what you truly love, right? I said we were going to end it there, but I forgot about our activity for the day. Hopefully that video didn't just cut out because if I get loud, it does cut out. Um, but I think a part of getting to know your authentic truth is also getting to know what it is that you love, what you love to do. You know, what you don't love, you probably have learned throughout this path what it is that you don't love. And so you're not really doing a lot of that. But you're getting to know now what you do love, and that's a beautiful thing. All right. Okay. Um, well, I guess she does have clothes on, so I can technically show this. Okay. So, so coming back to this card, seems to be blurry. And then we have this one. Okay, so um, I don't know if you can actually read that word, sensuality. Probably not because it's not focusing. I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time with the camera anymore because uh, it's just not a great camera. It's doing the trick, but it's not a great camera. So, yeah, I think, when we have gone through the shedding of old, let's say, toxic patterns, um, and I'm speaking to the divine feminine specifically right now. When you start releasing all of your toxic patterns like within relationships, often you can feel disconnected, not only because you've shed the past versions of yourself, but you can feel disconnected from yourself in that schmegdual way as well. And so, depending on what it is that you've been through, if it was highly difficult, let's say, um, in within relationships to other people, and you may feel that there is some disconnect there after doing healing or purging or releasing. And so it's important to tap into that aspect of your divinity, of your divine, sensual, feminine side and aspect of yourself as well, in order to fully reunite with your authentic self. And so it's okay to explore different aspects of yourself this way. It could come in many different ways. I won't get into full details on YouTube because, obviously, but it could come through, you know, just even gentle touch, something that some women and some men have had a difficulty with. And it doesn't matter if you're male, female, or what gender you ascribe to, um, even just gentle touch and being sweet, kind, and sensual with yourself, saying things that are nice, wearing things that, that lady was wearing, wearing things that, make you feel that way, or walking in a way that makes you feel that way. Um, for everybody, it doesn't matter what gender you have, or that you are, or that it doesn't matter what gender you are. Having brain farts right now. Um, but every single person has this sensuality within us. And so it is tapping into that second chakra, which is our sacral chakra, which is where that energy is stored. It's where our creative life force is stored. And so our sensuality is also there. And when we are disconnected completely from the aspects of self that are no longer sensual, and those aspects of a relationship create friction within us in any way, shape, or form because we're disconnected from that, So, a good way to know if you're disconnected from that sensuality within yourself is how you would approach a relationship in that way if you were to be intimate with each other. Would it just be like a wham bam, thank you, ma'am? Or is there some sort of lead up to it? Or is there reciprocity? Or, right? So if it's just more like, okay, my needs are getting serviced and that's great, bye, then you're not connected at all. If you have gone through relationships like that, where there was no reciprocity, where there was no real intimacy, where perhaps even schmexual acts were considered intimacy and there was nothing else. That was the only form of touch or intimacy or connection that there was in the relationship. That can leave you feeling really empty. That can yeah, it can leave you feeling really disconnected. And so it's important for us to see where we are on the scale and allow ourselves to reconnect with that chakra. It's orange. We want to feed that chakra. We want to get connected to it. We want to get connected to our life force energy again, to our intimate energy once more, and start to feel that sensuality through us. A good thing that I can recommend that you can look at is the ways of Tantra. And so a lot of people have misunderstandings about what Tantra is, but there is a lot of touch, there is a lot of caressing, there's, a lot of sensation, there's massage, there's all kinds of things that have nothing to do with schmeg, not at all. And so it is intimacy. And that's, the biggest thing about it. The biggest misconception is that Tantra in itself is the intimacy that is lacking in most of our developed world right now. And and so nobody is getting fulfilled. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. There are people who are just like, all about me, all about me, all about me, right? And that's the wham bam, thank you, ma'am, I'm gone. So that is completely disconnected from this epicenter of sensuality. And it's really important that we tap into that in order to feel our strength. Our inner strength comes from those two, um, from the three lowest chakras, but especially from our sacral chakra and our solar plexus chakra. And when we don't feel confident and strong, then we walk that way. We demonstrate our energy that way. We're slumped over and looking down and not making eye contact with people and afraid to be in our physical body, afraid to feel ourselves, and that's why I say if you've had really difficult relationships where you have been hurt in any shape or form, then it can be really hard to open yourself to anybody else in that way. And so this is why it's important that we all, everybody, men and women alike, every gender alike, explore our own sensuality, explore our own body. How do we like to be touched? How do we like to be nurtured? What makes us feel safe? What makes us feel secure within ourselves in relation to other people? What sensations do we like? What smells of oils for massage do we like? Where do we like our massage? Some people don't like to be massaged here. Like, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'll do it myself typically, but my experience has been too many people focus here and then it really hurts. You know, know yourself, know your body before you allow somebody else in, because if you don't know what you love, if you don't know what makes you feel secure, if you don't know how to tap into that raw energy yourself, then nobody else will know. When you finally have, if you want, a reciprocal relationship, because not everybody wants that, and that's totally okay. But when you finally have that intimate partner in your life who can reciprocate what it is that you want back to you on your level, then you want to be able to inform them of what you like. And if you don't know what you like, then you're not going to receive that, right? You're just going to feel uncomfortable, and then it's going to create friction in the relationship in that whole area, and then it'll kind of bring you back into old dynamics. So we need to learn to advocate for ourselves also by getting in touch with these aspects of ourselves and loving ourselves and nurturing those parts of our authentic self that need to come out too. Not being afraid of that, not being afraid of these parts of ourselves. And I understand trauma and pain can really lock down these parts of ourselves. Experiences in the world can really shut down these aspects of our sensuality, even beliefs that it's not important. So, yeah, overall, this looked like a really good reading today. I don't know about you, but just those thoughts, the inner critic, the ego, the negative thinking, this is just an energy that's around the collective. It's up to you whether or not you want to take that on as your own. And if you already have, don't beat yourself up either. Okay? Show yourself some grace. You're human. And if you don't know how it's working, if you don't have the scoop yet, show yourself some grace because we're all learning and we're all learning different things at different times, and that's perfectly okay. You're perfect just the way you are, and where you are right now is also divinely timed and perfect. So, um, yeah, reprogramming, just choosing whether or not that's what you want to continue to think, or if you want to counteract that. Step into your authentic self, step into who you are, your beautiful soul that you've always been. You just masked it, right? With all these walls and personas and identified with aspects of you that weren't actually you. They were given to you by somebody else. All right. That's where I feel called to end it today. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for being here today. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and feel free to leave a comment as well. I love hearing from you guys. So have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.